Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center, the place to be, where comic books and wrestling collide magically. Movies, TV shows, and pop culture we share. Get ready to rock, we're here to take you there. From superheroes to aliens in outer space, we've got the latest news and reviews in our embrace. Turn on your screen, let the neon lights glow. We'll take you back to the 80s. Let's rock and roll. Sci-Fi Center, where the legends come alive. Get ready to geek out, let your imagination fly. We're diving into the past with a touch of modern flair. Sci-Fi Center, the ultimate pop culture lair. Calm down and get your teeth a gift at the Sci-Fi Center. We got almost everything a geek could want at the Sci-Fi Center. You name it, we got it. Star Trek, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, and everything in between at the Sci-Fi Center.
It is Tuesday, 11:36 p.m. Pacific time, and that means it's time for Daredevil Born Again, Episode 3. We are going to watch it. For me, it'll be the first time watching it at all. I don't know about Brad.
Likewise.
Okay, so we'll both be watching it. I know some people have been watching it because I've been trying to skip the reviews and stuff that have popped up in my social media.
Yeah. God, I really want to get again. It was another situation. I was just finishing up a couple of features tonight before we came. Because I mean, writer's life. It's like my hours of in terms of like my journalistic life are just like it's when you work from home and like do this, it's kind of like it's not like it doesn't resemble a traditional work day, and then you add in I got like a 6-hour kind of window where it's like I'm going off doing my other occupational work, in the dojo. It's like it's yeah, I mean that's that's kind of how the chips fall sometimes, and I mean I'm not I'm not mad about that or anything, but it's like I hope next week I can just get all that lined up, all my ducks in a row, so I can watch the episode before we watch the episode.
Yeah, that's never going to be the case for me. It's always going to be this time. For those of you who are on Patreon right now, I am sending you the link in case you want to be co-host for tonight. Let's see. Hold on. Let me do that right now. Then we'll go ahead and start. I still hear that rhythmic static. That's driving.
I'm gonna fix, man. One of these days.
No, you're not.
I got this out of the box eventually, so I'm gonna get that adapter for it.
Oh my goodness. Hold on. What's the link? Link.
By the way, I did have a feature in news go live today that I'll go and bring up once we start the show. I'll bring this up.
Also, Junkie made a video about your article.
About the Zack Snyder one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because just these last couple of days I just haven't had a chance to like do it too much like watching other people's shows, but I appreciate that.
He clipped it out and sent it to. All right, guys. So if you're in the Patreon, there's your link. Others that are not that's can't access.
That's cool. Thank you, Dave. Thank you very much, Dave.
Aaron, I just sent you one. How you doing, David? Thanks for stopping by, dropping a like and subscribe. So those of you who don't have Disney Plus, the link to the Twitch presentation has been tied to the top. I I'm not going to give my opinions before this show. We're going to get right into this show, and then I'm going to tack on an extra 20 or 30 minutes of just a standard Q&A show where I will address this nonsense that, if it's even true,
Oh
we'll
yeah,
address
yeah.
that. Yeah,
Mm.
because some of
I
it, like I said,
I
there's a I have no. Yeah, it comes from sources, but once again, I've made myself look like a fool before. We'll discuss it if it is true, what it means, but we're gonna do that after Daredevil, so
yeah.
that'll be like a
I
separate
DM'd
show.
William about this. We have talked about this earlier,
Oh,
and
Rational. So did Rational. Rational did.
well, this made the rounds definitely today. So,
Yeah,
uh,
like I said, once again, I'm going to preface after the show our discussion if it's even true because I've been misled. Puck News doesn't lie, but they don't always give me the entire truth that I need to be able to stand on something. So we'll have that discussion after the show. But right
yeah,
now, we're
yeah.
going to go ahead and get started with this because this episode is
Actually,
46 minutes.
yeah, it's a little bit shorter than the previous two.
All right, so is everybody ready?
I'm all queued up, man.
All right, here we go on the count of three. For those of you who want to watch it on Twitch, go ahead and click on Twitch. You can watch it there. Patreon, your link is in the. You should have gotten a notification of your link, Aaron. I've sent you one as well. All right, 3, 2, 1, and we're playing. This episode is Hollow is the Hand. Oh,
By the way, I have
stupid sound thing.
By the way, I haven't had anything spoiled, but I had something kind of semi-spoiled where it's like apparently like something kind of pivotal happens, but I don't know what it is. So that's about. I think I avoided spoilers a little bit better this week than I did last week. And actually, again, I'm going to pull up in a second here. This one I had this news article I had to go live just today relating to Daredevil Born Again. I'll kind of get your thoughts on it, William, because it actually does kind of relate to kind of where the season might be going.
This opening reminds me of Westworld's opening. I wouldn't be surprised if it was done by the same person who did Westworld's opening.
What are your thoughts on the new opening credits? Because Aaron last time I think was kind of talking about she actually does kind of prefer the Netflix version, and I could see that, but I do also kind of get because this is not. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it is season 4, but also in another sense, it's kind of like a sequel series. So
Well, it tells the story of the series, whereas the other ones did not.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I could see the impetus they would have had for kind of wanting to, even though they're following, narratively where season 3 left off, they do still kind of want to establish or like distinguish themselves, kind of at an individual level, and that kind of maybe begins with the intro opening credits.
Yeah, that was just a basic intro. This actually literally piece by piece tells you the story of the series, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's just a personal preference.
This is good. So, can you pass the salt? Oh, sis, how's it going?
Hello.
William tries to deny the
These
tries to
people
deny
are
the
not
obvious.
siblings. It's creepy. Stop.
As soon as I go on, I get eggs.
You can blame
All I said
Brad
is
for being
hello.
Brad. Yeah, I was buzzing Brad.
Is
Maybe we.
okay? I'll put also is hello a banned word or something?
No, I knew it was coming from Brad, so I was ready.
Maybe we should get that DNA test, Aaron. Just like really kind of like put the final nail in the coffin. Or Williams.
As soon as it comes back
deny
on
the
negative,
obvious
I don't
there.
ever want to hear it again.
So, Aaron, have you seen this episode yet? Actually, I think she rose. Yeah, Aaron, have you seen this episode yet?
That's all right. Yeah, go on.
Have you seen this episode
No,
yet?
no.
Like, yeah. It seems to be the kind of how the chips are falling for all of us lately. Is that we do the watch party? It's the first time we see the episode in question. I'm really hoping to break that by next week.
You know what I reckon? To me, I reckon it's good television. Since we're not actually on television, we're on YouTube. To me, I think it's good to see a raw reaction for the viewers.
Yeah. Which kind of like with the kind of standard watch parties, of course, that doesn't, because I can't think offhand like a whole bunch like we've done where I hadn't seen the movie or the series prior to it. So there's not a whole lot of examples of that. I think people have seen us react in real time to it. So I mean, there is the other side of it. just would have loved to have gotten the
But
screeners.
yet again, people like myself, or people like myself do watch YouTube on our television screen. So
Oh yeah, I do too.
I guess it is television these days.
Yes, Daniel.
I do, but not for these.
No, for well, I mean, I don't know. It's like when it comes to like live streams. I mean, I kind of tend to I do that kind of just pull up YouTube on my Roku and just like I don't know, I kind of alternate so many times between like whether I'm watching some like anything, whether it's on my iPad or my TV or my laptop or my desktop. I go back for it. Yes, Daniel, we're gonna get to that later, but we're gonna watch the episode first. I think I'm just now noticing. I don't think like since the show started and we've like seen the return of Matt Murdock, he's had a beard the entire like since the show started, right? He's consistently been bearded, or like at least that like after the whole thing with a bullseye. So
Yeah,
it's gonna be interesting if
Yeah.
he keeps his beard the whole way through Born Again.
yeah, he has.
I think it kind of does the opposite for him. That if I grow my beard all the way out, or if I shave, I look about 8 years younger than I actually am. So for him, I think it does the opposite. So, and he's like 5 years older than I am. That's a kicker too.
Huh. Gee. He looks about 10.
Yeah. Some people have all the luck. I'm clearly not one of them. Yeah, they're doing that again with his hearing. They're really emphasizing like when he's like using his hearing. It's something they really didn't do as much on Netflix. Oh, we lost Aaron. Oh, he'll pop back on in a second. But whoever's managing the internet in Australia, to hell with you. As I recently said on the Conan the Barbarian watch party. Oh, he is flirting with being held in contempt there. Best cure for a black eye is fast hands. Well, those guys with the tattoos. Wait a minute, like how widespread or like how popular is that? But like among like actual cops or soldiers or whatever you do, like
Oh,
the whole
it's
Punisher tattoo business.
yeah, it's been out there. It's around.
Well,
If you look at like American Sniper, he used the symbol as well.
yeah, well, it's only been like I think within the last like 8 or so years it's starting to gain a lot of attention.
Yeah.
They're letting down my baby sis. I'm gonna murder whoever is like in charge of the internet in Australia.
Probably somebody who's creeped out as you calling her baby sis as I am.
We're gonna get that DNA test, man. Yeah, they definitely. Yeah, William, what do you think? Like the budget, like upgrade from Netflix to Born Again was? It's like I think I underestimated it before. I think this is like a 40 million, like at least, like step up.
Yeah, it's a step up in another way too. Like it's a more intense show than the original one was, just in the 2 episodes.
Well, again, it's like I mean, again, this isn't like a. This was again. I think season 2 like was the one that ran into this problem the most, but it definitely is in terms of like pacing. This is it definitely is a lot tighter. So that side of it. And again, I love all 3 seasons, but
there's a lot more talking. And
I think Aaron, you got a little bit garbled there. But yeah, I think the general points, like it's season 2. It's like that was kind of
wow, they just double crossed him.
Yeah, that's the biggest kind of like shortcoming I thought of season 2 is again there's a lot, but they didn't know like how to streamline it quite as well. I think is what like Born Again is really it really gets to the point. Damn it, whoever's running the internet in Australia.
It might be the same person that's running your sound.
Yeah, whoever's managing it, it's like, know this. I will look for you. I will find you, and I will kill you. Yeah, I know someone's going to clip that out and like say, Brad's making threats on the show.
this. I don't know. I feel like this episode is a little bit of a filler at the moment.
Well, it's like kind of putting the pause on hold, that the Daredevil, kind of ninja stuff, and like going to the kind of the, because that's like, that's the kind of the dichotomy of Daredevil. It's kind of, you kind of go like half ninja, half legal stuff, kind of legal drama.
Yeah.
So
So this is like the courtroom SVU.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you read Daredevil, you watch the original show. It's like he faces the bad guys in court, then they get off, and then he goes and fights some Daredevil, basically. So it's kind of the day in the life of Matt Murdock.
So if like the people who's watching this, SVU is like has police and courtroom. Sometimes you've got episodes that more focus on courtroom rather than Olivia Benson going around getting people.
Yeah. Yeah, this feels just, again, like they've really like kind of like tightened a lot of it up as far as the again, like the legal drama element of it, from Netflix. They've kind of like, not that was handled poorly, but like coming to this, they figured out like how to kind of trim the fat from a lot of that. Makes you wonder what that would have looked like back when it was pre-overhaul, when this was 18 episodes.
No.
I know, William, it's like we're not very far into it, but I mean, are you still kind of heartbroken that it's not going to be 18 episodes?
Yeah, because I'm a traditionalist when it comes to TV in general, but
Yeah.
So how many episodes are there?
There's 9. There's 9.
9. Oh my god! What the hell?
Yeah.
Why is it so small?
Well, why was it so long? But it's kind of like, and I know somebody's going to clip that too and like put some kind of spin on that. Yeah, again, it really makes you want to know like what the show is shaping up to be like pre-overhaul.
I wonder what the numbers are like in this show.
Actually, we got a little bit of data on that, and people are kind of spinning it, one way or another. It's like it came in like not far behind, I think, Acolyte and a couple other Disney Plus shows. Yeah.
Are you serious?
I mean, that's what it said.
So this could not get another season if the
Well, they're already filming season 2 right now, so that's kind of already, they kind of already have that sort of safety net in there. Actually, that actually might be pertinent to the Superman discussion we're going to have later, because it's like relates to, okay, is the studio going to like look at things in its totality and like give it room to breathe and like let it play out, and then then not make your decision and not be like super knee jerk as other studios are known for being.
I tell you what, this is going to open up a lot of these Acolyte fans to start attacking Daredevil and its fans now.
Yeah, I mean,
because they're gonna say, well, they're gonna get a second season. Why not Acolyte and etc.
Your biggest problem, and I'm trying not to talk while I watch it, but the biggest problem with the viewership for this show is, to answer Danny Martin's question, has nothing to do with what a lot of people think it is. It's not MCU. It wasn't MCU before, and you have 3 years of homework before you dive into what is now MCU.
Freshly MCU, yeah.
Yeah, it's not, like I said, a lot of people did not watch this show on Netflix. A lot of people did, but in comparison to an MCU show or an MCU movie, the audience for Daredevil was microscopic by comparison. So now you're having those people buy in to something that is new, and not only that, it has not been on the air for years. So I think the numbers will be fine when it's all said and done, but it's going to have a rough start based on those two factors.
Yeah, that's a very good explanation for it. Again, talking about the pacing, we're already over halfway through this episode.
Hmm.
Disaster for your presidency because people will hate it and it will blow up in your face.
I love how he's looking at the jurors.
I say this at risk of my job, Kelly, but when President Trump is
You mean Matt?
No, the guy on the stand.
Oh, guys, hold on.
Oh, hoo-hoo. What a twist, as Shyamalan would say.
Oh shit! This could be into a full blown dismissal.
Hmm.
He's allowing his emotions to get the better of him. Oh shit! Oh my god! So it doesn't mean that their courtroom is like televised because they're talking about it.
Not necessarily. I mean, it probably just like makes it's just like a big enough case. It just like makes the papers and or just like makes the general news around New York, and just like word kind of spreads on it.
Ah.
Yeah.
I didn't know whether they're like watching like courtroom TV or something over there.
This
The
is not
MTV
Judge.
version of it.
This is not Judge Judy. God, imagine I really would love to know that, like, what a Judge Judy version of a murder trial would look like. Though. Like those like a little 15-minute like just quick little trial she does.
All rise. Hmm. knowing what's happened to this particular actor, it brings this episode into a whole new perspective.
Yeah, what's that?
Because the actor passed away.
Oh, right. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
It's like as if there's some sort of eulogy in the courtroom.
Yeah, that keeps slipping my mind. And it was a while ago. Oh man, I'm looking him up right now. It was Christmas Eve, 2023. He died on Christmas Eve. Man, that's rough. He wasn't that old. He was only 56. By the way, Aaron, also a quick thing. The amulet they're referring to from White Tiger, it originates from the in the Marvel universe. Originates from the city of Kunlun, which is connected. Yeah, another character. Wink. Eh. Eh.
Yeah, we're talking about people who didn't watch Daredevil. They sure as shit didn't watch that show.
He's totally coming back. Eh.
Iron Fist.
Yes. What's like the usual Ned Flander answer? It's like yeah, absolutely, positively. That's pretty graphic description there.
Yeah. Where did he get that information from?
I don't know, but it's like
Probably not the first time a person's been hit by a train in New York City.
yeah, but that whole thing about it's like it hits you and you turn into basically like a circus balloon. Like that was tactical on his part. It's like I gotta make this as graphic sounding as possible to convict this dude.
I would like him to give us some sources.
I mean, they're like, oh, I mean, it's 200,000. It's a train, so we'll take your word for it. That I mean, you just kind of give us like a rough estimate of the damage you could do because clearly it's a train. It's, you get hit by one, you're not going to make it.
Yeah.
So if you said, okay, it's like I don't explode on impact, but I just like it's like I die 5 seconds later instead of like immediately. Okay, I mean it's like your estimate's like somewhat off, but it's still the same end result. Okay, I wonder how this is gonna play in because he's still got the horn that popped off of his cowl there. I'm really curious how that's gonna play into.
It's like he's like in church, but at the courtroom.
Yeah. I just thought about this with him with the little horn there. It's like that's all. I mean, maybe and it's probably fitting with all the Catholic kind of iconography and themes in Daredevil. It's like he's holding that thorn there, almost like he would hold a cross.
Yeah, but they're not overt here in this show though. They're more overt with the Catholicism in the comic, but I don't see it as much here in the show.
Well, like when I say that, it's like it's almost like again the way he's holding the horn like he would hold a cross. It's almost like it's like it's almost like they're portraying him as somebody who lost his faith, but he's kind of like slowly moving back towards it.
Verdict.
They're getting not guilty.
He could still be found guilty though. Not guilty as well.
Damn straight.
Yeah, because he could have been found guilty on any one of those. Mm-hmm. They could have. The New York law allows you to go for one, but he's not guilty of all of them.
Yeah, like I was saying with the whole thing with the horn is the way they were showing that there. It almost kind of like it's like it's like someone who's lost their faith holding a cross, and it's it's like he's slowly moving back towards his faith, and it. But
is it faith or is it identity? I think it's more identity.
Well, I think they're kind of intertwined them, with
it's synonymous.
Yeah, with Daredevil. So like in this case, that's a parallel to him, like slowly like gravitating towards back. I'm gonna be Daredevil again. Fisk has a nice office. I'll give him that.
He'll make a better president.
Oh yeah, Aaron, I saw your post earlier too. So.
I reckon the Dems should recruit him.
That's a really good touch there. When he's pouring the whiskey there. If you look closely, you can see he puts his fingers inside the rim of the glass because that's what a blind man does when he pours in, so he knows when the glass is full. That would have been so easy to overlook, and especially with they could have said his radar sense, he would have known. Like that's really clever little detail they put in because he is still blind.
Well, that fight with Alfred Powell, they got to suspect. They even have.
They're putting two and two together.
There's no way your ass got whipped by a fucking blind guy that bad, and you don't know who he is.
Yeah, if they're not connecting the dots, you'd have to be like literally on like a knuckle dragging, like just sitting in the corner like drooling kind of idiot.
They were beaten savagely. They
were beaten worse than They were beaten worse than Aaron and I could have done combined.
Hold on, I want to hear what he's saying here.
Yeah.
don't go with fingerless gloves, man. There's a thing called fingerprints.
Yeah. I remember the Flash. You know, he in his gloves he didn't have them either. But you know, it's like he can move so fast. You know, he can just phase through it, so he won't leave fingerprints. Whoa!
Oh,
Oh no! Oh no!
That's not him.
Yeah, that can't be him. Oh man. Oh shit! And they're not even like playing music over the credits. They're ending on a cliffhanger here. They are ending on a hell of a cliffhanger there. Oh, they just pulled the rug right out from under us.
Kind of knew that was going to happen as soon as he gave up his identity, to be honest with you.
You thought it was gonna happen 5 minutes later in the same episode?
No, I thought he was going to die eventually, but I didn't think it was going to be like here.
Oh man. Okay, so now that scene in the trailer of like Matt and Frank meeting, now that carries a whole different like kind of like question mark over it.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
boy.
probably Muse to begin with.
What do you mean like for? Yeah, it's gonna be news. It's gonna be
Uh,
probably people pitching articles left and right about that I know.
no, Muse. I'm talking about Muse. I think that's
Okay.
the other.
Oh yeah, you're probably
the
right. Yeah,
character
that's
that
oh, because
posing as
there is no way that's really Frank Castle.
no, and they're yeah, and it's remember that symbol. They've corrupted that symbol. Yeah, that could be that's a cop. That's either a cop or to me that's a cop that did that. The cops have corrupted that symbol. So that just because he had Frank Castle's symbol on his chest doesn't mean they all have it now, and he hates that. And he's you know.
Okay, well, can we can we go ahead and say for anybody watching, right? Or you like watch the stream later on, like what just happened?
Yeah, well, because we're let's put the spoiler thing on here real quick. So,
Yeah, because White Tiger was acquitted, and then 5 minutes later got shot by somebody wearing the Punisher emblem on their chest, but who logically there's no way that's really Frank Castle, but we think maybe Muse.
Either Muse or another cop, but it's going to be Kingpin. Whoever it was, Kingpin set it up. So
yeah, well, yeah, because Frank's not going to work for Kingpin. That's the other thing too.
That's another thing. You got to kill him. So yeah, as soon as when I saw him putting on a costume, that's when I figured, okay, they're going to kill him, and I was still surprised that they were going to do it in this episode, because you wouldn't have any reason for him to put on that costume, put on White Tiger, because White Tiger wasn't. I knew already that White Tiger wasn't going to be in the series throughout, but they had already put that out. But as far as how they were going to kill him, but as soon as he put on the costume, I'm like, ooh, fuck it. That's why I was like, I didn't say anything. I'm like, ooh, but there you go.
that was rough.
Yes. Oh man, and that's
they did leak that he wasn't long for the show. I just didn't know it was going to be in episode 3. I thought
I must have missed that then, because I didn't see that. So I guess
because he didn't shoot that many. He didn't shoot that many scenes.
Yeah, well, and
he was sick. He was sick when he shot that scene that you just saw.
And he passed away to Camara de los Reyes. So rest in peace.
Yeah. So not a very action-packed episode. I mean, even that last ending was just
There's just one gunshot. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just one gunshot. And plus, he's probably gonna have that one of his daughter that was in the court, because his daughter ends up taking up the mantle.
Yeah.
I'm gonna assume that she'll get that she'll get that amulet, and she'll become the second White Tiger. But this definitely brings, and this whole thing was catered to bring in Punisher. The whole thing was catered to bring in the Punisher. And that's why you're going to see him, because somebody's going to say that they saw a guy with a skull on his chest do the shooting, and that's probably part of Wilson Fisk's plan to take out two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
He wasn't mad at White Tiger. That's not he could give a fuck about White Tiger. He saw Matt Murdock win that case.
Yep.
and he's obsessed with Matt Murdock. He's obsessed with Matt Murdock, and it's always been his undoing since 1980, 1983, 1984, when they did Born Again. Actually, 1985, 1986, when they did Born Again. Ever since he's found out his identity, it has been the Kingpin's weakness because he can't let go. He can't believe that somebody like Matt Murdock defeats him. And he's a mayor now. He's he's all I don't need violence and let the chaos. He can't let go of Matt. It's like Brokeback Mountain. He can't quit Matt Murdock. That's what his problem is. And
But not in that way.
he is, and it's probably going to be his undoing in this series. It's his undoing in the comic books. I mean, he couldn't let a sleeping dog lie, and Murdoch knew it. That's why he had that meeting with him. That's why he had that meeting. He knew Kingpin was it. He is what he is.
And on that note, William, here's the article I wrote in news on comicbook.com today that I was just alluding to earlier. I decided to see it for the end of the episode, but I'll put it in the chat for you. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but I'll put it in the chat for you guys.
What are you running about that? No, go ahead.
Well, basically, there's a bit of a fan theory that's emerged on Reddit.
That's what I should have hit the X. I should have hit the X when I heard fan theory.
Is positing what comic story Born Again may be drawing from, because it's again Born Again itself was already used in season 3, although they could still take elements that weren't used in season 3 and use them here. But nonetheless, the theory basically posits that Born Again may be adapting the story out, which those who may not know, basically what happens in that is the cliff notes is that that Matt's identity gets exposed. It's like his identity leaks to the world, and he ends up in prison. And then see there it makes it on newspapers, and he gets a helping hand from my boy Iron Fist, who poses as Daredevil, and that gets him out. But so again, I'm not going to read through the whole article. I'll go and link it in the chat for you guys. But yeah, this is one I just had to go live today. Is based on this one theory that's kind of floating around. But William, I was kind of just in general, do you see any kind of indication that might be where where Born Again is headed?
No.
You don't think so?
Don't think that they're going to out his. I could be wrong. I don't think that they're going to out his identity to the general public like they did in those episodes. And we've covered some of those issues on the show. Because even when he was outed, he was Daredevil. I don't know if they're going to do that this earlier on in the story. Maybe next season. Because it's a good story once they do it. Because remember the episodes that where I had the covers on I Am Your God. That's kind of part of that storyline, and it's a storyline where the people have helped, where he gets it basically becomes common knowledge that he's Daredevil, but they can't prove it. They can't prove it, but everybody knows it. And it even has an issue with Bullseye in there with a harebrained scream to try to get some of Daredevil's blood to prove it's Matt Murdock. They go through a lot of stuff. It's been a long time since I've read the ending of that. I cannot quite remember how it ended up in ending, but I don't know. I mean, they could probably take elements of it, but I don't necessarily know that they're going to how much of that they would ever adopt.
Because it also kind of feeds a little bit into Civil War when they get this, Marvel-wide Civil War, and that's where it becomes, it plays into the story of that, where Iron Fist poses as Daredevil for a time. And one thing I suggested in the article here is that might be the kind of the conduit they use to reintroduce the other Netflix characters.
I wouldn't mind. Just give me a show with him in it. I don't need a fucking series with Iron Fist again. Or the rest of them. I just don't need that mixed up with Daredevil. No, like I said, you have to understand. Not nobody, obviously, comparative to the MCU. Nobody watched the show, unfortunately. So now we're bringing back all these characters, and they're going to put themselves in a situation to where now we got to go back to 39 episodes that they may or may not want to see, and he's part of that. And a show that nobody watched in Defenders that he's part of. You see, you start, and like I say, this goes into the numbers issue. If you weren't on board with Daredevil Netflix, it's really hard for you to dedicate that time to do it. And when Marvel is at its best, and this is kind of contradictory to how I feel about the show in general, but when Marvel's at its best is when you don't have to do the homework. And that's what Daredevil Netflix is. It's homework that people didn't watch before. So that attributed to that. So you got to be careful with the elements from that show that you bring on, because that's just more books you're stacking onto the pile that some people just are not going to buy into. 7.8 million is still a lot. People were comparing it to Agatha all along, which is fucking dumb. For one, Agatha all along was always every character from Agatha, Scarlet Witch, all those characters that are in MCU shows have always been in the MCU. So you're comparing shows that have already either had movies connected to them already that are already within the infrastructure of the MCU. So comparing it to a show that has already been within its wheelhouse audience to a show that hasn't been on for a long time and was an MCU, just for them to draw 7.8, I don't know what they were hoping for, but I gotta figure the smart people took all of this into account, and I don't think they'll be hitting the panic button. But as far as the story goes, dude, it could go. When it comes to trying to predict what these guys are going to do with these comic book stories, and this is a good thing. I'm in the dark. I mean, yeah, that's a possibility. That's a lot, though. That's a really, that story arc, and it was not just a couple issues. It was actually, it instigated a whole era. To be honest with you, it's really, really good. I read you guys passages from that era when he's sitting in that community meeting and they're all talking about how their lives have been affected by Daredevil, and Matt Murdock is sitting there as Matt Murdock, but he's doing some ninja shit so that the rest of the crowd doesn't realize he's there. And then he finally speaks up, and they all know it's him. They all know it's him, and he doesn't hide it.
Well, so, and that could even be like maybe that's why they moved into production on season 2 is fast as they did, because that might even be like a cliffhanger they end like Born Again on, where it's like he's outed, and then that serves as like the basis for season 2. Yeah, kind of like
that. You know what, dude, I wouldn't mind at all, but you have to do this right. You have to do that, because that was a very complex, clever storyline. The way they did it, the way he was continuing to be Daredevil.
Yeah, and again, it was status quo for, it was like you said, it was status quo for a couple of years, where it's like it's essentially an open secret in Hell's Kitchen that the blind lawyer is Daredevil.
Yeah, but he had no family to harm. He had no people that could to really harm. I mean, Foggy. I mean, they weren't going to really be able to get to them, and in the people who wanted to come after him, and in all of his cases and stuff, conflicts of interest and things like that, and they cleverly wrote their way around it for a long time. I don't know if the show could do that, but if they do go near that territory, they got to think this out in Dexter terms. They got to think all the common sense, which I would not mind for them to do. I would love to see them give that a try, but that's a really good storyline. As a matter of fact, we've covered some of that storyline. There's more to it, though. I only covered some of the certain issues that happen, and then it happens. It happens a couple of different times. But there's one juncture of it that I'm talking about, where the general public pretty much knows Daredevil's Matt Murdock, but it's not like concrete. And then there's times when they do figure out it's him, he goes to jail, but there's other ways around that storyline to so we're gonna have to approach it carefully. But to be honest with you, they could do this. They could do this because with Secret Wars coming up and the Sacred Timeline, which he's part of the MCU now, he could reveal his identity, and at the end of Secret Wars, at the end of all of this, he could go back to nobody knowing who he is.
Well, especially because Marvel it's interesting because and they even had to like kind of account for this in the Civil War movie, because and MCU has not really done, for the most part, like other than with Spider-Man basically, and now with Daredevil, they really have not done the whole secret identity thing with like like 98% of their heroes. So
Yeah, you pretty much know who Steve Rogers is. You know Steve Rogers is Captain America. You know Iron Man is Tony Stark. You know Scarlet Witch is Wanda Maximoff. You know,
Mm.
you know all these. You know Sam Wilson. Because to be honest with you, it's kind of. I know we grew up with it as kids. It's kind of stupid. We're gonna figure out who you are, especially with now with social media. A fucking 10-year-old with his phone could take a picture of you and who he thinks you are, and within 10 seconds is gonna have it matched right there. Hey, that's Daredevil.
No. Here's the thing. It's like, because I'm still waiting on an answer for this. Is like from Civil War when Tony goes to meet Peter and he says, I know you're Spider-Man, because they have never even attempted to answer this. It's like, okay, they established like how Tony knew there was a guy named Spider-Man swinging around in New York. But they just like, how do you figure out it was Peter? It's like, oh, because Tony Stark is just brilliant, basically.
Well, no, he was easy to figure out he was Peter Parker back then. Remember the Green Goblin did it. The Green Goblin did it, and Spider-Man had been Spider-Man for like 20 years. The Green Goblin, and this is because you know why? Because Peter was an inexperienced kid. He wasn't adept at going up against an alpha, and Norman Osborn was somewhat of a genius, and Tony Stark is somewhat of a genius. There's surveillance, there's all kinds of stuff, and when you're a 14, 15, 16-year-old kid, you don't cover your tracks like you will when you're 21, 25.
Well, yeah, but
26.
also like Norman Osborn and Tony Stark, Peter is something of a scientist himself.
Yeah.
I just had to get that in.
Wow. Oh my goodness, that's painful.
He gets his straight A's.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, are the Daredevil books any good? Zeke, come on, man. Yes, they are.
Well, he said.
You're talking the new ones. The new ones are really good. Especially if you like Elektra, and you like they're very violent. They've gone back to the violent edge of it, and Elektra's holding back, which is hilarious because she's a killer, but she's helping. She's subbing in as Daredevil. Because I won't spoil it for you. We're going to cover those, by the way. It's a storyline and the covers of it are beautiful. Yeah, but the new Daredevil books are really good. I thought you were asking me about the Daredevil books, and no, they're really good. Also, did they bring Punisher back in the comics multiple times? Yep. Including that ridiculous goat emblem.
Anyway, I just shared that article in the chat for you guys to go and like read through the theory about why Out might be the Daredevil, or if this theory is to be believed, it might be like forming the story basis for Born Again.
I don't even know how much Albert they'll do if they adapt it, because they might morph it into their own thing, kind of like Born Again.
It would be boring if you weren't into like courtroom type shows and that.
Yeah, and that was an intense episode. Like I said, that's one of those episodes where it didn't need to be. You couldn't be honest with you, 100%. The Netflix version wouldn't have pulled that off without making it boring. The way they did the Netflix show, they couldn't have pulled that off.
Yeah, season 2. You look back at like in season 2, like the trial stuff of season 2. That's not the highlight of season 2.
No.
Didn't you hear the words out of the blind man defeated you?
Yeah, I thought about that too when you said like Kingpin he's just so, once he figures out that Daredevil's Matt Murdock, he just has that on the brain, like defeating Matt Murdock, and part of that is he got beaten by a blind man, which that line's from the 2003 movie.
Well, that line is from the comics.
The
writers of that movie weren't good enough to come up with that line.
Do you think that that Kingpin is a bit of an ableist?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think also for him, it's like probably just more of an ego thing, where it's like, I mean, you got you got this not just beaten up, but just I mean, within an inch of your life, beaten by a blind ninja.
Well, technically, you can kind of see he's legally blind. So, if you want to go into semantics.
Yeah, well, Daredevil again. Matt Murdock is like a very, very, very unique like type of blindness. So, which he doesn't like know the logistics or the scope of all that either. He just like, this is a blind guy, and I've been defeated by a blind man.
Well, this entire show is a reshoot.
Yeah,
because
other than they did say they maintained some material they had done
White
before.
Tiger was originally supposed to be in Born Again. I know
Yeah,
that. That's it. Seems
I think I believe also the death of Foggy, that was always planned from the beginning. So some things that were filmed initially, that they were kept for this, but this show is basically 95% reshot.
yeah.
I wonder if
It's
Matt Murdock claims disability.
That's a good question.
He probably does just as a cover, just as a
Yeah,
cover.
yeah, it's true. Yeah,
Because technically he probably got a lawsuit from the city. That's probably how he started the firm. Because remember in the comics, he
Yeah.
sues the city because it's a city struck with fucking chemicals that weren't
Yeah,
supposed to be
yeah.
traveling on surface streets. That did it. All right, guys. We're gonna go into.
Oh yeah, go Marvel to DC now.
No, we're gonna just go into general news, but that's part of it. Go ahead and get that article ready for me, Brad, if you could.
Okay. Well, it's not
The
really
one
like
that you sent me. The one. Well, what did you send me that I looked
it wasn't
at?
it wasn't the whole. I just showed you from the DC Film News Twitter.
By the way, no disrespect to DC Film News. I've muted you because I just got tired of all the sites that were coming up with all this stuff. So I've muted you. No offense. I will unmute you soon as we get closer to Superman, but I just
Which, by the way, I know the admin of that page. So I mean, William's not dissing you, dude.
Yeah, no offense. There was just a time when it was like a deluge of DCU news before any trailers, before anything, and it was just like, okay, I got to take a step back. As we get close, maybe May, I'm gonna unmute all the ones because by that time we're headed headfirst into what we got going on. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this is from Puck News, which all this behind a paywall. But
Hold on, real quick. One last before you bring it up. Oh yeah, that's another reason. Fuck these. I liked the episode. I enjoyed the episode, even though it didn't have a lot of action to it. It laid the groundwork, and that's what they're doing, and with the story, they're laying the groundwork for bigger things. So these last 6 episodes of the show are going to be stunning. They set you up to get connected to Hector. I knew Hector was going to die. I didn't know when. I didn't know it was going to be this episode until he put on the costume. I'm like,
within 5 minutes of his,
yeah, yeah. I thought somebody was going to snipe or stab, do something, or a bunch of cops are going to surround him. When I heard the sirens, I thought the cop. I didn't know how it was going to go on. Headshot. That's as violent as just consistent as violent as this show has been. This was probably the least violent episode so far because there just wasn't a lot. I mean, a guy getting shot point blank like that, but what they did in the last episode. The closing scene in the last episode was like, I mean, damn. So this usually shows like this are going to get labeled as filler. There's no way you could have watched this episode, in my opinion. That's not filler. What's building up this culture of dirty cops, which, by the way, I'm a cop guy. I don't think you're all dirty. I know there are some bad ones out there, but there's no more bad cops in any precinct or any force than there are shitty people in the normal society that they come from. But there are some bad ones. We can't deny that. But in this show, obviously, it's been exaggerated. There's like a religion of bad cops here, and they've all taken the Punisher's logo and for what he stands for and distorted it much in the way that in the Watchmen miniseries, they took Rorschach's code and those guys distorted that and made it their own. So I love the fact that they've done that, and I cannot wait to see Frank Castle amidst all this. So,
oh yeah, I would be shocked if he's not in the next episode.
All right, so now we're going to give you that is the end of the Daredevil segment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give us a 2-minute break so that those of you who are watching. You know the difference in when Vince, if you're watching or when you do watch, when we edit the show, you will know where to edit the show. I'm actually going to bring it in with the intro and everything else because from this point on, we're going to be in a totally different frame of mind.
Yeah, in a DC talk / WB WTF talk
and anything else we got going on too. Yeah. All right, so here we go. We're going to go with the outro and then we'll be back.
All right.
Now it's on some bullshit.
on
Uh,
that note, I'll pull it right up. It's from the DC. Well, it's from Puck News, the article, but again, it's behind a paywall. But people pull the relevant snippets out of it. So shared on DC Film News.
Before we get started with this, this is everything what I'm gonna say is done under the preface that this is. I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt just for the sake of discussion that this is true. I have no, reason to think that Puck News lies, but all of these outlets have raced to the finish line with parts of the story, and then we turn around and seeing dragging behind them is the other pieces of the story that I need to make a fully formed opinion. So my opinion today is based on the surface leaning stuff that we have, like via this article. With fully accepting that there are maybe more aspects of it that could bring it into context. All right, go ahead.
All right, so reading the summary of it here from the DC Film News Twitter page. Via Puck News, James Gunn's Superman has, quote, almost incalculable importance to Warner Bros. Discovery, and there is reportedly, quote, genuine fear of the film studio going the way of 20th Century Fox, which was acquired by Disney in 2019. From one WB veteran, an essential element of the stock price is believing that the IP of DC is meaningful. David Zaslav bet big that they can show the world that the DC IP can have real value. Superman is the first movie that will set the tone, that will have a tremendous amount. They have a tremendous amount riding on it. Okay, so.
Okay, but what I've heard throughout the day, and people have been asking me, is this an all or nothing attitude as far as when they say it's a lot is writing? Because I've heard different wording. That's why I was really kind of sketchy about any of this. Are they saying, when you say an incalculable amount, what does that mean as far as what happens if it only does a certain amount of money? Or when you say there's a lot riding on it, are you saying that if it doesn't turn out to meet the number that whoever puts out there, are we not getting any more? What's happening? Is that the end of James Gunn? See, this is the kind of shit that when these conversations start, but I have enough based on that. If it's true, should have a banner rolling below us.
I'll make a banner for us right now for that.
If this is true, that's stupid. I've said this from the beginning of all this. We can't keep doing the bottom of the ninth, bases empty. We're counting on Babe Ruth to hit a home run to save the game. If this is true, why did you even, if you're just doing it for one movie, and like I said, I've heard different things throughout the day that, the future of DC. Whoa.
Oh, Aaron, what did you do there?
Pardon?
You got some feedback there on your mic when you just moved your camera there.
Is there somewhere in that article where it said the future of DC was riding on that? Is that where I read here? Because
it says the future of the whole studio's really kind of riding on it.
Okay,
like WB Discovery, that's kind of what they're positioning it as.
We can't be any dumber than this now. We can't be any dumber than this. This isn't, first, for a myriad of reasons, this is stupid. And here's why. We're going back to the old school. Now, when you guys know how I feel about reboots, all right? I'm going to tattoo this on my neck one day, possibly. All right? When stupid and lazy fuck, reboot is the resulting love child that nobody wants. Now, in 2022, 2023, William, I'm gonna talk to my former self now. When that William heard about all this, that William was like, okay, once you open up the bag and pull out the reboot tool, you always are gonna know it's there. You're always, once you pull that tool out and use it, you know it's in the bag. You're always gonna have it in the back of your mind to use it whenever you reach a rough spot or a rough patch of anything. So it's best not to pull it out. It's best to try to piece things together. They didn't want to do that. So when 22 and 23, William was like, okay, this is stupid. You're basically telling the audience, by virtue of what you've done here, by blowing all this up and blowing up all this invested time that people people put into it. You were putting that in the back of their heads. Why should I trust you with my money? And I quote myself, why should I trust you with my new money when I've seen what you've done with my old money? You are literally pulling the rug from under somebody. Somebody's background is killing me. You're literally pulling the rug from somebody at the same time you want to sell them a new rug.
Hey, Aaron, I'm going to mute you real quick while William was talking.
So,
sorry.
so 2022 William, 2023 William was a hard ass when it came to this. And I'm like, well, why should I embark on this? It was like, and I would repeat myself. I just finished running a marathon. I got to the finish line, and you got a guy with a starter pistol, a new guy that wasn't even a guy who started the race, telling me, not only is this not the finish line anymore, but we want you to run 2 more miles. You trust us. So I thought they did, the way they handled it did horrible damage to the brand. However, 2024-25, William, as we started seeing some things happening, as we started seeing things casted, as we started seeing, you know, high-end people being put on these projects, Damon Lindelof, Tom King, as we started hearing about what kind of stories that are going to be adapted, I'm down with it. Swamp Thing. I mean, James Mangold. So I mean, these are people who have done things that I like. And I start seeing a trailer for Superman. I'm not truly on board with that version of Superman, but I'm like, okay, it's out there. People are engaging in it. Now we start talking about Damon Lindelof. Now we start talking about the premise of Lanterns. Now I start getting pictures. 24-25 William is like turning and looking at 22-23 William, but look, they got the stuff. They're doing the stuff. 22-23 William is like, they ain't got shit. And I'm looking at myself, my 22. I'm like, well, but they ain't got shit. Remember, they have finished movies that are done. They have cut them. 2022, 2023, William is looking at me like, fuck you. You don't have anything, William. And 2024, 2025 is like, and then me and my old self, we kind of haven't been talking lately because I start seeing the pictures of Hal Jordan and I start hearing casting and I start hearing, some things. Don't like the way the whole thing's being advertised. But 2024, 2025, William was slowly starting to think about leaving the house and not this being my magic, my wand, my invention that I haven't sold to the world. I'm starting to get closer to being the guy that puts on the wrestling t-shirt and go gets the sign and he's in the front row. I'm not there yet. No, I'm not there yet because I haven't seen a movie. But the possibility of me coming back and engaging wholeheartedly was there. And all of a sudden, I look back to 2022, 2020, and he's looking at me like, say, I told you so, you dumb motherfucker. I told you. So if this is true, there are so many reasons why this is dumb. First of all, it shakes the faith in your brand if you're a reactionary. We did this before. All right, the dumb ones did this before. Why waste the time going out and getting a visionary like James Gunn if everything right to build a universe? To build a universe, it ain't the DC, it's the DCU. So we're building a universe. You're selling your audience and anybody jumping in on the DCU. I don't give a fuck about the people like, well, I just want a good movie. We'll go, fuck that. You're selling the audience on a universe. You're introducing aspects in even this movie that are going to carry over. Some of them I'm really excited to see. I want desperately to see Lanterns. I want to see Paradise Lost. I want to see anything James Mangold does, especially Swamp Thing. And if he's going to do it Vertigo style, I'm down for that kind of stuff, regardless to how the previous regimes screwed up everything else. You have introduced elements that I'm interested in seeing. Even if I'm not full on board with, I'm going to go see Superman. I'm going to support and promote it. All right, we're at that point. So why would you put so much on instead of being reactionary? Why don't we get the story started, see how it goes, and make our adjustments? If there are things that you think you could have capitalized on that you missed out this time around that you think you can improve on, if there's story elements you think you can improve, if there's anything, advertise it probably way you can, being improved. Anything, any aspect of Superman, when it gets released on July 11th, for better or for worse, that you think you can improve going forward, then do that. But this mentality that this movie has to do this or that, or everything else is so much is riding, you're putting undue pressure on something. You're having James Gunn's Superman carry the weight of a whole bunch of things that doesn't have a damn thing to do with Superman. And thus you're putting in jeopardy, if this is true, then you are basically saying that we're doing the same reactionary nonsense that we did in 2016. So, if this is true, this is dumb. And I've heard this mentality of Superman's got to knock it out of the park. No, it doesn't. What fucking baseball game does it has to be ended on a home run at the end of the ninth inning? You ever heard of a base hit? I watch baseball daily. I love baseball. All right, if you're waiting for your best hitter to get up to hit the game tying or the game winning home run every time out, 162 games, you are going to fail most of the time. How about a base hit? How about a single? How about let's get to second base with some of this stuff, and then as we go along, the other guys can drive in the runs. It doesn't all have to happen with one damn movie and nothing, the entire studio. You're going to tell me with all the stuff Warner Brothers has, and I do agree that these IPs they're invaluable, of course. But you're building something. This isn't a fucking Hot Pocket. It doesn't need to be done in 2 minutes, 3 minutes. If there are some stumbles, you go back to the drawing board because you know you got other movies. What can we fix? What worked? Because believe it or not, some of the stuff, even if you have stomachs, does work. You can capitalize. So if this is true, and like I said, I'm not saying Puck is putting out fiction. We've been here before, though, where the headlines is what gets passed on and passed on and passed on. And since I'm not paying for Puck, I don't know what the full context of the article is. But just that, the future of WBD could end up like Fox because of this. I mean, you could end up ending up like Fox for a whole bunch of other stuff. Most of them don't have anything to do with the people who bought the company. You bought a company that was $46 billion in debt. You bought it for $43 billion. You literally opened up a debt hold on your stock immediately. I mean, that's and if that was your mission, that's fine. But and this is what I meant when people were like, well, they're not going to give James Gunn, because when 2022, 2023, William was, wait a minute, you guys are assuming we're going to get this shit. And I've always said I would feel a lot better if there was a contract locked in with James Gunn. But then I realized 2022, 2023, William's like, if they're trying to shop the company out, they're not going to want to inherit contracts. And then everybody's like, well, James Gunn is going to stay there forever. There's no way they're going to come in and get rid of James Gunn. You're delusional. Okay. All my fanboy people nipping at my fucking toes were telling me the same people if those people were right, Hamada's still running DC right now. Let me go ahead and call up Toby Emmerich about some DC. So, yeah, if he's not under some kind of contract, then you lead to the reactionary stuff that if Superman isn't a perfect movie or doesn't have the perfect result, that doesn't mean you need to throw it away. Damn. So I hate articles like this. I mean, not the maker of the article, but I hate this mentality that DC always finds themselves in because it doesn't need to be that way. Let's build something. If I'm willing to come back, a Snyder fan that pretty much got defecated on for the last 5 years, if I'm willing to come back and I'm open-minded to your projects, why not do the projects? Why let's build the projects? Let's not start doing, because even if these movies go on, am I dealing with reshoots now? Am I dealing with, we need to panic. We need to add some more comedy or polka dots or whatever in this because this didn't work well with this time. No. If James Gunn has a plan and he's presented that plan to you, you had faith enough to install this man. Follow through. Let him follow through. Don't start making, I don't want to see song and dance numbers on Swamp Thing. All right, and I don't want to see them maneuvering, other than, hey, okay, this worked, let's go with this. This didn't work, let's lessen that for our next movies. But don't call into question that there are going to be next movies, or you're going to end up with 2021 DC. People, if you say you're selling them a universe, loosely connected or connected, that's what they want. Don't put the U in it. All right, you have all these other solitary movies, and that's fine. But I don't, and personally, I don't think it's fair to anybody in DC Studios head, because you're putting them in a position to where they can't start building something that's going to last. And no matter who runs or owns WBD or is the DCU studio head, that person, once you've named them, that person needs time to tell their story. And you can't, be putting everything on Superman after you've done this kind of damage. Not them in general, but after this much damage has been done to the brand. Like I always said, we had more of a shot of finding Hoffa than we ever did of seeing Superman back on big screen again. You've taken all your mainline characters and they've disappeared, and you replaced them with B-listers and Z-listers. And those Z-listers got sequels, movies that should have never been. You were making movies that didn't carry your brand anywhere. You were gonna give me Jan and Jay and the Monkey. You were doing all this, and now Superman has to be a grand slam home run, or else we don't get anything else. That type of stuff says stuff to your audience. Because if Superman comes out and loses money, given where you have to do this. And I always ask people, they never have an answer for me. What is the dollar amount on the damage? All right. From 2016 up till now, what is the dollar amount on the damage that was done to the brand? It's going to be pretty hefty. I think it's in the hundreds of millions. Hell, they lost that much promoting 4 movies that were dead on arrival after you announced the cessation of the universe. So what's the value of the damage versus what Superman is supposed to bring in July? Because even if it lost a little bit, if you put out a solid movie, it's got momentum, it's being reviewed, fuck about critics, but if it's being reviewed in the circles that as a studio are strong points for you, and there's revenue coming from different places, there's revenue coming from merchandising, there's revenue coming from licensing, the VODs, then that's, you do that measuring upon what the damage was. And if the forward stats are anywhere near what the damage done, because the damage was being done for 7 years. James Gunn's only has this IP for what, 2? And one of them is the production of the movie. So you're going to try to, you're going to curtail what could be 2 years worth of momentum versus 7 years worth of damage. The math won't add up. You might take it in the nads trying to get this going. Like I say, you have to rebuild the runway you destroyed in order for that plane to have any chance of getting into the air. So I think this is, I hope that there's more to this. It could be solved if Superman comes out and makes $1 billion. But I hear people saying, Superman does not need to make $1 billion. And if that's the case, if WBD is hinging on Superman making $1 billion, I don't have anything more to say. There's nothing more than I can add. That means you're putting a dollar amount ahead of your story. And what have I always said? No matter what it is, the story is first. Everything is there for the story. Once you compromise the story for things outside the story, then everything starts to crumble. Right? Your product starts to crumble. Your faith in your product starts to crumble. People just stop listening to you. And this will be too many times of disruption for this. Even if whether you're a Snyder fan or not, just a casual fan, damn. In the last 10 years of your life, you've been given so many truncated versions of these characters and no endings, you may never come back. So if Warner Brothers Discovery, if you're watching, David Zaslav, if you're watching, I hope that this is just pieces of a story that will, when the rest of it will fledge. I hope so. Even if because like I said, the entire studio should not be riding on the Warner Brothers Discovery. What's plan B? I mean, you have 100-year-old studio and its library. What are we doing? If Warner Brothers Discovery is contingent on one movie, so I hope this isn't true. I would gladly do another stream tomorrow once I find out that if it wasn't true or it's been taken out of context. Because, like I said, I'm not going on the paywall, and I don't know how much of these articles have been chopped.
And by the way, Rational Skeptic, I saw that he did DM me the article, so I've been reading it right now. It's
is there anything in there that's missing that would make this?
Well, there's a lot of talk about like Zaslav being pissed off at Abdon DeLuca, and there was the other part of the sorry if you got by the way Michael DeLuca, one of the producers on the original Blade. I'm just mentioning that for no reason.
Who cares?
But so there's that. There a lot of it like kind of relates to the performance of Joker too. There's a lot of just talk about like Zaslav being kind of a tightwad, but they greenlit some recent stuff, like Mickey 17, like Joker 2, that didn't perform well. There's also the other part of this. I'm actually going to pull this up too from the DC Films news page. Let me just go.
By the way, this is not true, Williams 5. This is 4/4. That is not true. The thing about that is, the first time some domestic shit or something goes down in your neighborhood, you're going to call the cops based on the fact, whether people want to admit it or not, that the vast majority of police officers who put their lives on the line are good. Yes, there are some pieces of shit. We understand that. But like I said, in every walk of life, there are, no matter what profession it is, unfortunately.
So there's this other aspect of it too, where WBD CEO David Zaslav is reportedly considering replacing Warner Brothers Pictures co-chiefs Mike DeLuca and Pamela Abdi. Zaslav is said to be leaning towards Peter Safran, DC Studios co-CEO's potential successor. What could this mean for the future of DC Studios? Now, as we all know, Peter Safran is, he's the co-head of James. The way they divide that basically is James Gunn's like the creative head. Peter Safran is, the guy, the business side of it. So
I think nothing changes there. I think Peter Safran being the head of Warner Brothers Pictures doesn't do anything. Has nothing to do with James Gunn, because James Gunn would be equals. He would still be co-equal because
the big thing for me though is because Gunn's, he turned down the job at first because he said this is like he didn't want to be managing the business side of it, so that's he'll just get another
step.
I get that too, because that leads the question like who's filling Safran's shoes if this were to happen.
Yeah, Safran will probably pick his own replacement, but as far as that dynamic goes, A, they're friends. B, there will be co-equals then at that point, because the head of Warner Brothers Pictures and the head of DC Studios are equal. They both answer directly to Zaslav, so I wouldn't expect any changes.
Yeah, this is in the article.
Thank you for the $2 super chat, by the way. I got to remember to thank you guys when you support the channel.
So yeah, basically it's a lot of it kind of boils down to Zaslav is pissed off because he thought he landed like the golden goose, and it's like now it all like.
Well, he did,
but he did. But that's the thing. It's like that's right. I totally agree with you. It's like it's not even just the idea like the future of the franchise or the future of the IP rests on Superman's shoulders. It's now you're resting the entire studio on this one movie.
I'm like, damn, dude. And even for people who don't like Gunn or on the fence about Gunn, that's not a position you want anybody put into if you want to see DC content ever again. You just can't do that. Like I said, I'm hoping you can timestamp this, that there is more to this situation that we haven't been let in on, because none of it really, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Yes, it is the golden goose on so many different levels, but it's a goose that you've backed a truck over. It's a goose that drank some bad water. It's a goose that somebody tried to shoot out of the sky. It's a goose that's like half living when you got to the goose. You got to fix the wings. You got to you got to pull out, all the bad feathers. You got to feed the goose. You got to purge the poor goose's system because he drank that sewer water because there was nothing else around. You got to get that goose walking and quacking again or goosing again so that goose can get up in the air again. Yeah, and lay some golden eggs while he's at it or she's at it. But what you yes, you have a golden goose, but that golden goose is seeing some shit.
And by the way,
that golden goose has been some places where you need to perform triage on that goose.
yeah. Well, and to kind of bring it back to Zaslav specifically too here, because one of the things talked about, in this article is again like the failure of Joker 2, and he's taking it out and Abdi and Duluth,
which I don't believe, but okay, fine.
But that's so idiotic if he is, especially because it's like, again, it was $1 billion hit. It's like, who wouldn't have like greenlit that? And apparently, wasn't he all? Because they came aboard when he came aboard, so it's like he wasn't involved in that greenlighting process. We didn't sign off on that.
He was part of it. Listen, if this is to once again, I don't believe that, but if it were true, you're on board until the results came in.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So I'm not that. I don't believe that to be true. Like I said,
which is exactly also with this the thesis on Superman is to be believed on. So that's he's applying that kind of like company wide.
And then there's probably other people in the company, but this is what I mean when I said I needed to know what kind of conversation he had with the people that set all this in motion. I can't believe that people would be that stupid to think that the work that you're doing, the operating room treatment that you're going to have to give this goose to bring this goose back to life, to rehabilitate this goose, was going to be something that was going to it took 7 years to get here. It's going to take some time to get. And like I said, I wouldn't be if I were a stockholder or if I were somebody in the executive branch and Superman came out and people loved Superman and I saw revenue streams that I saw potential to going forward to Superman, and we lost a little bit on the top of it, but we established ourselves and we go on to the next thing. You have to, at some point, you have to put your stick down and start building something. You have to put the cornerstone down, and you have to let everybody know you're going to finish the building. Because right now, the credibility of DC finishing anything is not there. It's not there. And this stupid shit like this would add to it. Because, like I said, now you're basically saying if this movie doesn't make a certain amount of money, that puts the whole studio, and it would be sold because of that. Now, there's a lot of reasons why Warner Brothers could be bought by by a bigger company. But this ain't. I mean, that's not.
Well, and here's the other thing too. Kind of bring it back to Joker, because again, there's also like in the article I talk about Joker too, and the other thing too, it's so disingenuous about like turning the blame for that movie bombing on Luke and Abdi is that they ran the DC Studios head position by Todd Phillips. I mean, they reportedly begged him for it. So again, so as you said, like if this is to believe,
it was his story, and it was Todd Phillips' story. Listen, it's not everything. Believe it or not. First of all, no studio bats 1,000. Even Marvel, no studio bats 1,000. Fucking Paramount has had was damn near bankrupt before they were bought by Skydance. They're putting out no studio bats 1,000, and you can't always when you're trying and you're putting things out there, there's a chance that it could fail. But does that mean the people that greenlit it fail? And I don't know. Maybe Abdi and DeLuca work, but I don't think so. I mean,
again, if that is to be believed, though, I mean, it speaks to what you said a minute ago, where it's like Zaslav is like his attitude is he's on board until the result doesn't come back the way he wants it to.
And like I said, this is what makes it hard for me to believe that this is that there's something more. Even if this is everybody's reporting what they know. I'm not saying anybody's putting forth what they know, and that's fine. I got to believe that there's something else that would be coming along later, because otherwise, like I said, this is not good. This is not good for the brand to keep going through this and to put that much pressure. So why is James Gunn brand new? This hasn't had a movie out yet. Now he's Babe Ruth at the bottom of the ninth with 2 strikes and 2 out. He's got to hit a home run just to tie the game. Does that sound fair?
That's why they should play the game of cricket instead.
I mean, and then somebody in the chat said, well, when you go all in, yeah, but here's the thing, though. DC is like a team that's sort of using draft picks to rebuild. They gutted out. They were in like last place, but they were where they wanted to be. So they had to go out and get a quarterback. They have to draft a quarterback. All right, most people that have high draft picks in quarterbacks are bad teams, so they had to go out and they had to get some talent. They had to make some trades. They had to eat some contracts. So even a team that goes all in rebuilding a franchise, most of them don't do it in year one. And this is basically year one. We're in year one of trying to get this going. The problem is that you cannot be reactionary with this. You cannot be reactionary with this. Make adjustments. That's why Feige has been so successful. He doesn't panic. He doesn't blow things up. Makes adjustments. You know, he's willing to do reshoots if necessary. But he doesn't blow things up, and they got to get to a point where the audience that they're trying to invite in knows that they're not on shaky ground. Otherwise, why? No, people don't like to have their time wasted. If you tell me we're building a universe that this Superman's going to fit into, and then you're reactionary at the end of it. I mean, this is the ghost that I don't want to deal with no more. All right, 2025 should prove that people are really stupid. Mm-hmm. That goose and a geese, and yeah, and like I said, this is just not a bad look for anybody else who's going to come in after that. I don't know how much more this brand can take before it's damaged for a really long time. Yeah, everything we're starting is worth finishing. That is 100% true. WB thought they could bypass the rebuilding process and go straight to the winner's circle by rebooting. They've learned absolutely zero. Yeah, and like I said, you threw those fans away, hoping that they would be around for this time, and now here they go. Yeah, and here the Jets are getting a new quarterback. Yeah, so yeah, it's WB should love hamstringing themselves at a time when Marvel is doing bad. Idiots don't know. And like I said, you have the potential of building something special with what they've got going. I mean, and like I said, in my opinion, even though I don't like the way the process that got us James Gunn went down, I think James Gunn's the right guy. So yeah. William, this is kind of Kim Masters was a report to. Here's the thing, though. Everything she's saying could be true, but is there more to the situation I'm not hearing? And that's where I'm getting kind of like, okay, 100% she could be telling the truth, and I don't have any reason for Kim. What's her name? Kim Masters being wrong, but there's got to be more to this because it doesn't make any sense. Even if it's 100% true, it doesn't make any sense that a multi-billion-dollar company would not have a diverse enough plan to where you would have multiple things that could work in your favor, and you're not just trying to put all your eggs in one basket. Even if it is Superman, given what DC brand has been, you can't. That's not fair. That's not fair to the people that are working on the movie. That's not fair to the person directing the movie. That's not fair to anybody who's looking forward to the movie. You know, their time is contingent on basically how you feel about the results of the movie. And like make adjustments. If you don't like what you see, the results of what you see, make adjustments. But the whole studio writing on it, come on, man. That's a little bit too much for me. I think they should come out swinging with. I thought Batman should have been in the first one, but that's just me. From the start, DC do not have obscure characters. Yeah, but like I said, in any event, this is why I get exhausted when it comes to talking about this brand every now and then, because I'm open enough to what James Gunn's doing to sit here and wait for it and see how it's going. But it sounds like I may have more patience than the people running the company, the parent company. And I'm a fanboy. So I hope if this is true, I hope there's more to come. To come. Like I said, by the way, I have no reason to believe this isn't true. I should rewrite this at the bottom, said if this is complete, because like I said, this could be 100% true. So Kim Masters or whoever you are, if you're watching, I'm not calling you a liar. I'm just trying to piece together with what you put out there, and there's got to be something missing in order for this. This doesn't correlate with me that they would be this desperate.
And Rachel, this is actually very pretty because I asked William this earlier too when I shared this with him. Does this article tell you that maybe SaaS levels still do? Yeah, I asked William. It's like, okay, presuming the veracity of like all this reporting, like does this make the pending merger, sale, whatever you want to call it, or whatever wherever we go, like, does the likelihood of that happening before the end of this calendar year like go up or down for you? And William said it's basically 50-50 in his eyes.
50-50. I still say it's the same 50-50 as it was before, because that's not going to be. I mean, you can make a case that if it does well and the stock goes up, that they would sell. That they would sell because they would be getting a better price. So you could say, or you could say that if it does bad and the stock goes down, then it's cheap. I mean, it's 50-50. I don't know. Like I said, I get these articles and I understand that these articles are out there, and let's say all of them are true. Like I said, I don't have any reason to believe that. There's other conversations that have to be had that we're not privy to for this to make sense to me. Otherwise, why, as a customer, I'm echoing, why as a customer would I buy into this if I've been around a while with DC? Even if I'm a general fan that's not a Snyder bro or bot like some of the clowns like to call us, even if I'm just a casual fan, I know that why I've drifted away. I know why I'm not around anymore. So why would I come back with this if this ever got out? I'm in the same situation I was back 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Well, and the other thing about it too is because you talked about like another offshoot of all this is they made to start like licensing, DC is like, okay, you guys can like do X, Y, or Z with it, or this after like, does that possibility, like independent of like a sale or merger, does that go up or down for you?
That could go up if they deem that the acceptance of their movie isn't what. And like I said, I'm reading these articles without knowing what the actual parameters, the interior parameters are. What is a success for these guys? I don't have a dollar number for what the success for those guys. We don't have the final budget of what this movie is, so we don't know. We don't know what they see. I know what I think.
$1 billion.
Yeah, I would say I have my parameters as somebody who's seen this company go through this over and over again of what they should be expecting and which they should be celebrating. What are their expectations? Like I said, if my expectations, we're getting at least 3 or 4, this movie's in this line, and after that we make adjustments. Now, if we get to the point where, we're drawing the same amount, we're not growing the audience, now we start having conversations. But what these articles are not privy to, and nobody is what is the internal conversation? What is the internal number overall that they're thinking of? Is it $1 billion? Is it 700 million? Is it 600 million? Is it totality of all revenue coming in? I need to know that before this article can mean anything to me.
I got to be honest, like, again, assuming this is all like, presuming this is, this lines up with like, what the kind of the mindset is behind the scenes. Like, this really strikes me as like, as Zaslav's mindset is, it's $1 billion or bust. Like, it's when the idea is like, you're, again, not even like the future of like the franchise or what you're doing with DC. You're betting the entire studio on this one movie.
On the first step.
Yeah.
On the first, what's supposed to be the first step.
I mean, that's not even, that's like the analogy you're using. This is going beyond like the whole thing we said about, where it's like, it's Babe Ruth, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, full count, all that. This is like, I mean, this is beyond like winning the game on that. This is like winning the entire World Series on that.
I'm like,
at the end of the day, you got to realize that David Zaslav is a businessman, and he'll look at numbers rather than creativity and stuff like that. So you got to keep that in mind.
Yeah, but so is everybody else in his position, though. Iger is in that same position. You see what I mean? So yes, I understand that, but you still have to be smart about the numbers. If he had to know that there was no quick fix. He got the company because it had been devalued from $74 billion to what they bought it at. So he couldn't have come into this thinking that he was going to microwave some tacos in the oven and everything was going to be okay. He had to understand the situation. If he didn't, then I mean that's going to be cataclysmic, because
you're talking about a person who came from a place where they have Dr. Pimple Popper.
Yeah,
and that's a cash revenue that's pumping out money left, right, and center.
Yeah,
but we're also talking about somebody who had all this knowledge before he made this merger. So I give him some allowances for the first couple of boneheaded mistakes he made coming through the door. But now it's been 2 years. You have an understanding of what it takes to build this. You studied, even if you didn't study, you don't know the comic characters. He should know the structure that makes this work well over time.
Maybe he's not as smart as what everybody thinks he is.
Oh, I'm totally with you on that. Yeah, this is. I mean, my stock on the dude has just plummeted through the basement.
But he's not an idiot, though. I mean, he's where he is for a reason. He's not. Yeah, he may not. Here's the thing: he may not be connected in the way, and this is the difference between a Kevin Feige and anyone else. Kevin Feige knows how to do business, but he's connected to the IP. He knows how the heart works. He's like a cardiologist. He knows he's not just making money as a doctor. He knows how that organ works. And that's what James Gunn could be if he got some runway, because you have to have somebody at the helm that understands the physiology of what you're working with. And yes, there's money to be made, but if your fucking patient dies, guess what? Your reputation is going to take a hit, and so is your wallet. So like I said, let's say all this is true, and I have no reason to believe any of it's not. I hope there's another shoe that's going to be like,
well, that's
the other shoe I would need to drop is the actual internal numbers of what you guys are expecting. I want to hear from David Zaslav, and I need somebody to ask him the question. By the way, why hasn't nobody asked this guy the question?
That's where I'm kind of wondering too. Is like in response to this, is Gunn going to say anything? Because he is known for taking to social media and saying, yeah, this either isn't true or it's half true or it's like not presenting the full. Now, granted, he's only, for the most part, only said that about like creative decisions, not really business stuff. But that this is enough of a bombshell where it does kind of make me wonder: is he going to kind of try to go out there and sort of try to calm the fire?
Well, I think he needs as he hasn't been quoted. That's the problem with any of this stuff. Is it's insiders and stuff like that. That's the problem. That's the point. I need to hear from him what he, and it's just flat out ask him at CinemaCon.
Don't forget there's departmentalization of companies and that. Maybe Gunn has privy to only a certain amount of information, while Zaslav knows.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking Zaslav.
And there's no communication between the top and the bottom.
Well, the top just
which
needs to be the one to say
makes things even worse.
Somebody needs to ask.
The bottom doesn't know what the top is thinking.
Yeah.
But somebody needs to ask David Zaslav outright, because that says everything. What is your standards for success when it comes to Superman? Dollar amount. What are you looking at? What do you think would be a success? Now, if he doesn't answer that question, then I'm going to have a problem. But if he answers that question, that sets the bar for where we need to understand it. Because right now,
or it can lie.
Yeah, he hasn't been quoted, one way or the other. So, and then are you asking this way? Hey, if Superman struggles out of the gate or doesn't do some bonkers numbers, are we blowing things up again? Or are we readjusting? That's a question you could ask him. He doesn't have to give a dollar amount about. But that question needs to be answered before any of these articles. No matter how accurate they are, it doesn't mean anything until I know what the internal goals are with this. And are the internal goals just box office? Are the internal goals the ancillary, the things that are added on, the other revenue, the licensing? What is considered a success for this movie? Otherwise, the sky is falling doesn't do it anymore. An unnamed source saying that the sky is going to fall off this movie, that doesn't work anymore for me, because I need to hear it from him. If you're saying that Zaslav and stockholders are saying this, that's fine. But at some point, Zaslav's got to come out. Somebody's going to come out and say, hey, this is what we have, or tell me what your parameters are or what your goals are for the first 3 or 4 movies. So that at least gives me a overall basic, okay, should I invest my time in this? As somebody who's buying into the universe, should I invest my time in it? And I'm one of the weirdos. I'm not there for just one movie. I'm going into Superman as the first step of a universe. And if I take that first step and it's the only step I take, or I only take a couple more steps before I run out of real estate, then you've wasted my time again. So I want more context. I hope we get it from from Zaslav. I hope we get it from somebody, a COO. Doesn't have to use Zaslav. Somebody who can tell us what the parameters of success are when you're talking about the universe. Are you talking about the entirety of the universe, or are you talking about one movie? Because that's two different questions. I mean, because if you're talking about the entirety of the universe, or at least the first phase of the universe, the Gods and Monsters phase, if you're speaking on it in terms of that, then I have a little bit more faith, because you're at least talking about getting a certain amount of movies and letting the chip. Hey, if it's a fucking disaster and you need to make adjust downward, that's fine. But we shouldn't be going into Superman with that kind of loaded baggage, and we shouldn't be weighing down the franchise before it's like they said, your golden geese fly, but they don't fly with cinder blocks tied to their neck. So let's not do that. That's all I'm saying. All right. I think I'm ready to wrap this up, because it's been a while.
Yeah, because it's more drama with the studio after a decade of it. Yes, and
There's more drama in this studio than a bloody episode of a soap opera.
Well, here's where somebody in their PR department needs to cut this stuff off.
they have got this studio. Warner Brothers has got to have the worst PR in the freaking universe with how consistently they run into this over at least the last 8 years.
I shouldn't be hearing a lot of this stuff from where I'm hearing it. I mean, put somebody out in front. You know. Oh well. All right, guys. Today is what's today? Tuesday.
Yeah.
So
Now
we're now on Wednesday, so we should be on the air tomorrow. I'm gonna try to solidify the schedule, but I got a lot of stuff going on. And I'm trying to give enough normalcy when it comes to stream as many times as I can, but there's going to be some times where business takes place and I just can't be there. So tonight wasn't one of those nights. Last night was an impromptu. I just pulled that show out of my ass.
Yeah, which I was like, you DM me that. It's like I actually gone to bed at a reasonable hour for.
I figured that was going to be the case. And I don't have reasonable hours, so I went ahead and did it. So, all right, guys, we will see you tomorrow night. Please like, subscribe, share the broadcast. And enjoy the watch along. If you're watching it at a decent hour, I hope we added a little bit more to it than just sitting and staring at a screen. See you later.
Later, guys.
Yeah.